Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take your stack of sources, the articles, the detailed research, and especially the incredibly intense reader feedback, and just pull out the critical knowledge you need. Today, we're diving deep into a modern fantasy behemoth. It's Sarah J. Maas's fifth book in the Throne of Glass series, Empire of Storms.
A big one.
A very big one. And our mission today is to go way beyond a simple plot recap. We've got, nearly 700 pages of high-stakes action to get through.
Right.
But mostly, we need to figure out why this particular book, with its huge web of characters and that shocking finale, got such a profound emotional reaction. One source literally said they were utterly destroyed by it.
Yeah, and that's really what this is about. This is a deep dive into how you engineer that kind of tension in high fantasy. The core themes are just massive. You've got the true cost of leadership, the agonizing nature of sacrifice, and this character transformation that's just forged in the fire of this looming war. We're really looking at how our protagonist, Aelin Galathynius, moves from kind of reluctantly accepting her destiny to making this ultimate calculated move that costs her everything.
The stage is just set for absolute chaos. Aelin is finally starting her journey to reclaim the throne of Terrasen. War is brewing, loyalties are being tested.
The breaking point.
Completely. And the only hope for salvation demands a sacrifice so desperate it might just tear her entire world apart. So let's unpack this strategic madness.
Let's do it.
So Empire of Storms really anchors Aelin's final transition. She's not just the assassin Selena anymore, or even the grieving princess. She is the heir of fire. She is fully embracing her role as Queen of Terrasen.
And that embrace is immediately met with resistance, which I think is a key narrative point.
Right.
Her journey to Terrasen is supposed to be this huge triumph, but the sources make it really clear that the people who are actually ruling in her absence are, let's say, highly skeptical. They don't just accept her claim because she was who knows where during all the critical conflicts.
Which immediately throws this huge political wrench into her military objective.
Yeah.
It's not enough for her to be powerful. She has to earn the right to lead.
Yeah, she can't just walk in.
She can't. So she tries to do that by leaning into her strength. She promises she won't stop fighting for them. But that political isolation, it adds so many layers to her strategic planning.
It forces her to recognize that her strategy has to trump any kind of sentimentality. I mean, the entire book shows Aelin fully leveraging her intelligence, her cunning, her courage. It's the final evolution from a hero who's burdened by this traumatic past into a calculating, intentional monarch who is willing to sacrifice everything.
Everything, including her own happiness, her own well-being, for the greater good.
Absolutely.
And that willingness to pay the price is what defines her. But she can't do it alone. The next crucial layer here is the ensemble cast. This book is absolutely defined by the sheer diversity of her allies and the specific jobs they do.
And we can probably skip the catalog of who has what color hair,
Yeah, I think our listeners know that.
Right. What we need to focus on is the purpose these characters serve in Aelin's sort of war council.
Agreed. So let's start with a core partnership, Aelin and Rowan Whitethorn. Their bond is passionate, it's intense, but why are they so strategically vital together in this book?
Well, Rowan is Aelin's anchor. He's her chief protector, the formidable Fae warrior. But strategically, he represents that unwavering strength and the Fae power base she desperately needs to counter the threats.
And their bond, which grew from, basically hating each other to total devotion.
It provides the emotional high stakes. He's the thing Aelin is fighting to protect. Then you have the allies, who bring this immense concentrated magic, specifically Dorian Haviliard. He's the former crown prince, and he's finally broken free from his father's dark influence.
Dorian is essential. He's not just raw magical power, though he has tons of it. He's also a highly intelligent strategist in his own right. Their friendship is built on mutual respect and, frankly, shared trauma.
He's not just a follower.
Not at all. He's a co-equal player in the magical sense, which becomes absolutely critical when we get to talking about the Lock later on.
And we absolutely cannot forget the non-human assets. The alliances with the shapeshifters and the witches are so complex. Lysandra, the loyal shapeshifter.
Lysandra is Aelin's intelligence and infiltration unit. Her ability to transform gives them these critical strategic advantages. She can be anywhere, gather any information. She's also this deep emotional ally, She represents the loyalty Aelin inspires.
And then you have Man in Blackbeak.
The utterly formidable Man in Blackbeak, leader of the witches. She starts out so cold, so ruthless, aligned with powers Aelin should definitely fear. The sources describe her internal transformation in this book as just immense.
That presence highlights the complexity of the world, doesn't it? This isn't just a human versus monster conflict. It's fae, witches, shapeshifters, humans, all jockeying for position. Manon's inclusion foreshadows that the final conflict needs alliances built not just on trust, but on this shared critical moral awakening.
It's a roster that requires constant trust negotiations, which is fitting, since the main antagonist, Maeve, Queen of the Fae, is basically the embodiment of manipulation.
Precisely. Maeve doesn't fight with brute force. She fights with psychological and emotional control. She wants to isolate Aelin, turn her allies against her, and use Aelin's own power for her own gain. She is the ultimate puppet master.
Yeah, which means Aelin's schemes can't just be aggressive. They have to be layered.
They have to be.
So if Aelin is the strategic powerhouse, then the real emotional core of this book, I think, lies in the redemption arcs, particularly Manon and Lorcan. The reader feedback was just overwhelmingly invested in watching these two find a moral compass.
Manon's journey is a phenomenal study in free will versus destiny. I mean, she was literally engineered for ruthlessness.
That sort.
Exactly. But in Empire of Storms, we see her questioning her core identity. It's this slow burn realization that her loyalty to her coven is being misused by her grandmother.
And that specific moment when she stands up for her 13, risking death to save Astrid. That's the turning point. It shows her choosing her own morality over the violent fate she was bred for.
And that act immediately aligns her with Aelin's cause. It culminates in her saving Dorian.
Right.
It transforms her from this terrifying warrior into a formidable leader of conscience. She doesn't become soft, but she directs her ruthlessness toward defending the innocent. It makes that whole #Team Minorian dynamic where people root for her and Dorian feel earned.
So earned. Because she paid the price of moral defiance?
She did.
And then you have Lorcan Salvater, the Fae warrior who starts as a true antagonist. Defined by his strength and his centuries of loyalty to Maeve, his transformation is maybe the most unexpected, and it's all catalyzed by Elide Lorcan.
Oh, his conflict is profound. Lorcan represents the weight of immortality, of this ancient, unwavering loyalty. And it's all quickly eroded by him developing these very mortal feelings. Elide, who starts as this scared, abused girl and grows into this resourceful, determined woman, she shows Lorcan the beauty and urgency of mortal life.
He starts out so full of anger, but the relationship teaches him that some things are worth fighting for. Not just because of an oath, but because they have real value. It forces him to question his loyalty to Maeve.
Which sets the stage for his crucial role in the climax. This slow moral calculus is just essential tension building.
It is. The arcs of Manon and Lorcan provide this necessary contrast to Aelin's own isolation. While they're finding allies and choosing goodness, Aelin is preparing to choose the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, let's turn to Aelin the mastermind, because this is where the sources said readers were just left speechless. The book really hinges on the fact that Aelin is operating 3 steps ahead of everyone, including the reader.
The term mastermind is apt. The sources emphasize that her schemes are so deep, so layered, that reading the prequel, The Assassin's Blade, is almost necessary to fully grasp her planning. She calculates massive risks and hides her intentions even from her closest allies.
And the central danger she's scheming against isn't just Maeve. It's a cosmic problem. Let's talk about the dreaded lock.
This is critical context. So, the original bargain made by Aelina, Aelin's ancestor, was this magical mechanism designed to lock away the dark forces. However, in this book, Aelin and Manon discover the lock is actually, broken. Or worse, a hindrance.
The magical mechanism required an ultimate sacrifice. Either Aelin or Dorian has to give their life and power to forge a new lock, a working one, to defeat Erewhon, which means everything they've been fighting for has been based on flawed assumptions.
It puts Aelin in an impossible position. She has to find a way to complete the sacrifice while also protecting her allies and making sure her kingdom survives. This is what drives her final, catastrophic plan.
And this plan leads us to the beach confrontation with Maeve. Aelin, Manon, Elide, Fenris, and Lorcan. They meet the ultimate puppet master, and Maeve just dismantles Aelin piece by piece using emotional manipulation.
And the big reveals start dropping like bombs. First, Maeve reveals she faked the mating bond between Rowan and Lydia.
Right, shattering the foundation of what Rowan believed was his deepest trauma.
But then comes the real twist, the one Aelin has been hiding all along.
The bombshell. Aelin is Rowan's true mate.
Huh.
The deepest bond exists between them. And the ultimate strategic gut punch is that Aelin knew it. She knew it since her first encounter with Manon, and she kept it hidden.
That decision to hide her soulmate connection, it reveals the profound isolation of her leadership. She couldn't afford to be distracted or emotionally compromised. She knew that to succeed, she needed to be seen as a calculating queen, not a woman bound by destiny.
She sacrificed the immediate happiness of that bond for the greater mission.
She did.
But despite her cunning, Maeve overcomes her. Maeve forces Aelin's surrender by threatening a lead, knowing Aelin's weakness is her protective instinct.
And then she proceeds to inflict this horrific physical and emotional torture, lashing Aelin multiple times. The strategic failure of that physical confrontation quickly turns into an emotional defeat.
Maeve imprisons Aelin in an iron box, which nullified her fey magic, trapping her completely. She relieves Lorcan and Gavriel of their oaths, but keeps Fenris as a personal prisoner.
A tormentor for Aelin to watch. And then she leaves, taking the Heir of Fire as her trophy.
And the reader is already emotionally shattered at this point, but the book delivers one final, stunning blow. Rowan arrives too late at the beach. He finds this scene of devastation and demands, and this is a quote from the sources, where his wife is.
That off-page marriage reveal is just pure narrative manipulation, and it works perfectly. Rowan is now hit with 3 simultaneous, soul-crushing facts. Aelin is his true mate, she hid their bond from him, and she is his secret wife who has just been captured.
Possibly permanently.
The source feedback about the tears and anguish makes perfect sense. This isn't just a cliffhanger, it's a strategic, emotional collapse engineered by both Aelin and Maeve.
So, if we step back and look at the whole picture, what's the crucial takeaway here about Aelin's character and the narrative architecture of this book?
I think the true depth of Aelin's sacrifice wasn't just getting captured. It was the strategic plan to offer herself as beta pawn she could control while making preparations for the kingdom's defense in her absence. But the emotional cost of that strategy was incalculable. She pushed everyone away, including Rowan, by hiding their mating bond and their marriage, ensuring his heartbreak was immeasurable.
This book successfully ties all those complex threads of maturation and resilience together, whether it's Manon choosing defiance, or Lorcan finding mortality through love, or Aelin accepting the terrible burden of the crown. Every main character has to grapple with what constitutes true loyalty.
And the definition of a perfect partnership.
Right. The Roland dynamic isn't about mutual adoration, it's about mutual, painful testing.
And that leads us to the final provocative thought for you. This book is widely praised, despite being 700 pages, for feeling incredibly fast-paced, like 200 pages.
Yeah, it really is.
So consider how that structural balance works. You're mixing the agonizing, slow-burn emotional redemption of characters like Lorcan and Manon with Aelin's rapid-fire scheming and that traumatic final reveal. How does that manage reader engagement? That precise narrative engineering is why the audience's emotional throttle was just floored the entire time, causing such a physically painful reaction. It's a masterclass in pacing, and it's definitely worth exploring further on your own.
That's a powerful way to end it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive through the strategic genius and emotional devastation of Empire of Storms. We'll catch you next time.